In this video, let's learn what is data transfer between CPU and memory. So, there is a block diagram in this question. So let me first share my screen so that you'll understand it clearly. Yeah, in this question, first you have to mention this block diagram where you will mention control bus, address bus, data bus. The combination of all three different buses is nothing but system bus. So when it comes to CPU, central processing unit. When it comes to CPU controls all the signals. So first it goes to control bus. Control bus can process the unit, can process any of the operations, and it can be stored and it can give input output. And address bus, again it can go with CPU and control all the functions, all the executions. The same way it can control the memory also. It can in address bus, whatever we store, we can store it as in a memory as well. And the same thing goes with input and output also. Data bus, again it can process with the CPU and it can store the memory in memory unit, and it can also produce input and it can also take input and also produce output. So let's go in depth and understand what is control bus, what is address bus, what is data bus, and what are the system bus actually mean. When it comes to data bus, name itself says data bus. Okay, first of all, what is bus? Bus in the sense, whatever the connections between those, we have seen no arrow marks or physical wired connections, physical wired connections are known as bus. You'll understand in depth. So data bus use it to transfer data between different components of a computer. Okay, as CPU interacts directly with main memory is nothing but it includes both primary memory as well as secondary memory, which you have learned in the previous video. Okay, any data entered from input device or the data to be accessed from hard disk. Hard disk, examples of hard disk are pen drive, CD, DVD, etc. Needs to be placed in main memory for further processing. The data is then transferred between CPU and main memory using bus. Okay, it is bidirectional again. Only in a data bus it is bidirectional, whereas control bus and one more bus, address bus, it is unidirectional. In the sense it is towards only one direction. Only data bus is towards two directions. Next is address bus. Address, it stores the address of the next variable. Let's see that. Address bus is to transfer address between CPU and main memory. The address of memory location that CPU wants to read or write from is specified in the address bus. Whichever the location that CPU wants to read or write, it will be mentioned in that same address bus. The CPU plays on address bus the address of main memory location from which it wants to read or write the data. As I mentioned, it is unidirectional. Control bus. The name itself says it controls. What it controls? It controls and communicates. It communicates with the control signals. So signals. What are signals here? Read or write operations are the two different signals. Okay. Control bus use it to communicate control signals between different components of a computer. While executing the instructions, the CPU specifies read or write operations through control bus. As I mentioned, it is again unidirectional. Only data bus is bidirectional, and you have to mention that point in your exam. Only data bus is bidirectional. The control bus and address bus are unidirectional. You have to mention this point. And when it comes to the one more thing, when they ask this question, for sure they'll ask this question for 5 marks in your final exam. You have to write these points, 3 buses. You have to elaborate these 3 buses, and also you have to mention one diagram. Okay, yes, let's go with the next topic, that is data and information. Data and information. In this video, let's learn what is the difference in this slide. Let's learn what is the difference between data and information. Okay, here you can see data means raw and unorganized facts that are processed to be meaningful information. A data which is unorganized, or you don't, that is not structured, that is nothing but data. When you organize it, when you like arrange it correctly, arrange it as per your needs, that is nothing but information. Let's see what are the difference first. Data is a collection of facts, is the first one. Information puts facts into context. So data is unorganized, information is organized. Data does not depend on information, information depends on data. Data isn't sufficient for decision making, information is sufficient for decision making. For decision making you need not get a unstructured data, right? You need structured data for decision making. That's what it means. In next video, let's learn what are the types of data. That there are 3 different types of data, that is unstructured data, structured data and semi-structured data. Let's go in depth and learn what are these 3 different types of data. And